My favorite gear company has done it again, Peak Design, and this year's travel line. This multi-part series is going to do a deep dive into the product, the 45-liter backpack, the various cubes and pouches, to see whether it's worth it. As a photographer, as a traveler, does it meet your needs? Does it meet my needs? This is my honest review of the travel line, so let's jump in.
Come on, let's go.
Today we're looking at comparing the F-stop Loka with the 45-liter backpack and how it handles multi-day hiking trips. All right, so this is the F-stop Loka. It's discontinued right now. There is a Loka UL ultra light version, so mine's the first generation of the Loka, and I think F-stop has a different one that's slightly bigger than the Loka out in the market. But I originally bought this because I needed something that was rugged, that could handle kind of all different weather, that could still be designed for camera gear, but then could store all the other things that you would need for a hardcore hiking / camping type of trip. And so this bag honestly felt very similar and most comparable to the Peak Design 45-liter travel backpack because it was back access bag primarily. And so F-stop has this design available. You got a bunch of pockets here, got this wide open opening, and you got basically camera cubes designed to be mounted inside the bag. Sound familiar? Well, these are called ICUs, and I have the medium shallow right now. I have my full frame gear in here, and so medium is really perfect, even I think in the Peak Design world, where you would probably want a medium packing cube for large camera gear like this, the full frame Canons and the Nikons. So this fit here at the bottom. You'll notice that I have a hydration bladder here on the back, so there's a slot for it, and I like how this bag kind of thought about hydration. There's a slot here on one of the sides, right here, that's for H2O. That's where the tubes come out of. Really simple design, but it just has an access way for the tubes that you can see here. Geiger Rig has the system that I use has two tubes, so both tubes come out and then I strap it down onto the shoulder straps. The rest I won't go into too much detail. They've got a different mounting system. It's called Molly for a lot of accessories. This is the waist strap. If I bring it out to the other side, there's a front compartment, which is unorganized, but there's a bit of space for gear here. I never really used it. There's a top compartment up here, which is where most of your stuff can be organized. There are pockets and Velcro things. Right now is just kind of a mess of stuff. And this bag is also top access, so you can access the stuff in the back from the top. So your ICU is just down here. And that's how you get to most of your gear. Now, there was no real front access to the back that Peak Design has. We also have this F-stop Navin. I bought this primarily because I needed a way for quick access to my camera gear while hiking, because the problem with back access backpacks is that there's no side access. You can't get to your gear quickly. And I didn't have capture at the time, so this was a way to mount it onto the side of the waists, and you would strap it down here, or I'll show it on this guy. You would strap it down here, and this would be your waist right here, and your camera would sit inside. If you needed it, you'd open it up, pull out your camera. I feel like this has become obsolete with the prevalent use of capture and just how good capture is right now. But you know, this has its time and place. You know, if you want to keep your gear covered while hiking, this is one way to do it. And it worked. I used it for one trip. Other things to consider are, okay, what about all this other, bulky gear? And so F-stop also has the idea of external carry. They call it gatekeeper straps. And similar concept, you have a bunch of loops designed into the backpack. You clip it in, you bring the two straps around, and you lock it in place. So that works, and I could see this working the same way with a Peak Design travel backpack. And you're asking probably, or you're thinking, where are all the clothes and where does all that go? Well, kind of like the other video I showed you with the 30-liter example of how I could pack a 45-liter, you just got to work with, it's a bit of a Tetris game where can I put my tech pouch here and maybe my wash pouch, or there's no tech pouch in this case, no laptop. I'm just putting the wash kit and then clothes maybe go into, you leverage some of these spaces, or you just mash a bunch of clothes up here at the top, or put it in an organizer. That works. And that's what I did for my 2-day trips and that's probably what I did for my 2-day trip to the Narrows, 1 night trip. And this kind of carried everything that I needed to, and I needed this to bring everything for the entire expedition. So having used this bag extensively, one of the big things that really annoyed me about back access backpacks were the fact that, well, one, I couldn't access it quickly enough, and the other was that because, and this might be my fault, this ICU is medium shallow, so you'll notice that when I pull it up, there's all this extra space here. So what happens with back access backpacks is that if you put anything loose up here at the top, maybe you bought some souvenirs, like something that's in a small bag, because there's extra space in terms of depth in the backpack, stuff will slowly trickle down, and that becomes really annoying. And one of my biggest worries about the Peak Design the Peak Design travel backpack is that could happen. And I feel like, having learned from this backpack and having complained to F-stop as well about this, not having a divider to prevent that from happening, that I have to be careful with that with the Peak Design backpack, so that everything is in organizers, so stuff doesn't have that tendency to fall down. So we'll see if that's an issue. Last thing about the F-stop that's important are the sides. While they're not very deep, they're mesh, which was, I guess, okay to see what was inside, but it wasn't very deep, so you had to, especially for tripods, you had to kind of lock it in at the top. Now, what was really important for the Narrows was my ultra light backpack. This is a big Agnes. I'll put the link in the video, but this is ultra light, packs up to be really small. So this was perfect actually for this backpack. I would cinch it down here. I would also clip it here at the top, cinch it down, and I would hike with the tent on one of the sides, kind of like a tripod. And I would have a sleeping bag here at the bottom, or I think I tested it with a sleeping bag at the top as well. So this is the F-stop Loka. How does the Peak Design 45-liter backpack do all of this, and how is it better? So how is the 45-liter backpack gonna fare in this type of scenario? One that requires hydration, sleeping bags, clothes, tents, and things like that. All the things I showed you with the Loka, can this backpack handle that same type of load, and are there organizers in places for every single thing? So why don't we try that? I think this example is going to be useful because I don't know if we've seen this yet, a combination of photography and outdoor adventure, like a hiking backpack. I'm gonna start off with opening it from the back. And again, I'm sorry, I only have the small camera cube, so this example won't be apples to apples because I don't have full frame gear in here, and you would be very limited. You'd probably only be able to put one body and one lens here if you did have a full frame camera. Right now I have my Micro Four Thirds stuff. It's the same stuff that you saw in my previous video about the 20-liter and 30-liter everyday backpack. But if we're looking at how can we load this thing in, I mean, first thing is definitely going to be clothes. So you got your medium-sized packing cube. A small one could probably work in this case. And so I got all my clothes back here. And this is going to be very similar actually to how I packed it out for my 30-liter example. I want my wash pouch here. So that's good. Got the, don't really need tech pouch. I mean, I guess I could bring the tech pouch, but let's not. I think what's interesting, somebody did ask, I think Peak Design, what their thoughts were about hydration bladders. And what it came down to was that it just made a lot more sense to put the bladder outside because you never know when these are gonna fail, which is true. And so let's do an example of this being on the outside. One of the other things I talked to you guys about the F-stop Loka was that I was very annoyed by how things could just trickle down, especially for a back access camera bag. all your stuff is accessed this way. So when stuff trickles down, it's kind of annoying. Now, maybe not much of an issue here because this is still side access. I got access to this gear from the side. So if stuff trickles down to the bottom, it doesn't really interfere with the camera gear that's here. This is still kind of protected zone because I have all the C-clips to kind of prevent that from happening. It's not foolproof because I guess gear could come down this way. This is still kind of an open space, but this small camera cube comes up all the way to the top. And so I feel like with this closed down, it'll be hard for stuff to trickle down to the bottom, which was an issue I had with the F-stop Loka. But let's focus on the hydration pack and the tent, because I'm curious how that's gonna work. So just to keep things clean, I'm gonna put the waist straps back in, keep it a little clean, and let's put all the straps inside. I love that you can do this. You can't do this with the F-stop for sure. So closing that up. All right. So let's start off with one side. Hydration bladder, Geiger rig, goes in. So I guess you could fit it on the outside. I don't know if this is a perfect system because it's not really locked into place. I guess once it's expanded with air and water that it'll work, but it's not ideal. I would almost want it inside, but if we did have it this way, with Geiger rig, I think one of the challenges is that you got two tubes. It's not like some of the other guys out there. There's two tubes. So if you fill it with water and there's gonna be air in here that's forcing the water out, you got two tubes. You're going to need to mount this on the strap somehow, which I wonder if it would get in the way. That could work. It's not pretty, but you got the bladder here on the side, tubes coming around. There are probably other clips I could transfer over from some of my other backpacks that I have for Geiger rig, like maybe up here. But then you got the pump and you drink out of here. So it could work. Like I said, it's not ideal. And there's also nothing holding this in place. I guess you could maybe figure out a way to hook these two together to kind of prevent it from slipping or, I don't know, doing something weird. But that's one way to go. I was curious whether I could do this with the inside of the bag. And I think you, in theory, could. You would just have to, so all I did was I put the hydration pack inside. It's just sitting there freely. And then you do the same thing. Again, you're just kind of coming up with a solution, but there's no specific hole for hydration. And that's, I guess, maybe one of the knocks for this bag. There's no hydration port or hole. All right, and last thing is really the tent. So this is the Big Agnes tent, ultralight tent. And does it fit in? Ooh, it's tight. So you need a really ultralight tent to make this work. Like, I'm squeezing it in and I think this is gonna work. Maybe one of the external carry straps, you could lock it in. It's only up to here right now. There's a little bit of extra space, but I don't think I can get it in any further. It's pretty stable, so maybe external carry straps aren't needed. But yeah, that works. So I'm surprised this fits, but it's tight. Any other tent that's any bigger in terms of just when it's packed down, the diameter of it, if it's any larger than what I have here, it's not really going to work. All right, so one last thing I haven't gotten to is this guy. So you got a big sleeping bag. It's not gonna fit inside, but is there a way to strap it down? And that's where the external carry straps come in. I got two that came with the bag. And so there are these loops all around the backpack that you can use to do exactly this. So I'm gonna put these on. So I got 2 of them in here. They're pretty easy to clip on. And I'm going to flip the backpack around. And pretty easy actually. Sleeping bag. Okay, this is actually gonna have to be longer. Much longer. Do the same thing for this. So they're extended. I'm gonna bring this, and I'm gonna need to do a crisscross to really keep it in. And I got this one here now. So I'm gonna tighten them from the other side. So you could really only tighten it from one side. It's not something in the middle that allows you to tighten it. Got the sleeping bag on. And relatively secure. It's coming in this way, coming in that way. It's not really gonna get anywhere. You can make it even tighter if you wanted to. But you got tent, sleeping bag, all the stuff inside. Let's see what this looks like on me. And I know a little ridiculous to have all this stuff, but I think the beauty of this backpack is that it can handle all of this. I mean, I guess the 30-liter everyday backpack could do this too, but I got much more comfortable waist straps. I know this isn't designed specifically for, mountaineering or doing anything like that, but for the type of trips that I go on, where I need one backpack to handle a trip like this, where I need one backpack to handle, 1 night, 2 night, 3 nights in the outdoors with, essentials, this backpack could handle it. And I got all the benefits of being able to get to my camera gear really easily. Okay, that was pretty tiring. Final thoughts about this is that this is certainly a backpack that is capable of doing those outdoor trips, being able to carry a tent, albeit a very, very small tent. It can definitely use external carry to wrap things like it can certainly use things like external carry to put a sleeping bag here at the bottom. You could probably maybe put in the front or top if you get creative. Tried the water bladder kind of hydration pack situation, and on the outside, for my bag, it's not optimal. I think what will work really well are the hydration bags that are long and thin, I guess. That could work well, but just note that there's no kind of specific mounting for it. So you don't clip it anywhere, it's just kind of in the bag and it'll just expand as it needs to. With Geiger Rig, it's a little tricky because I know it expands quite a bit because of all the air that you add in. Yeah, not the perfect solution for hydration. You could put it inside, but also no slots for it. I guess you could use the front pockets for hydration. You can play around with it as you need to. All the other features come with the bag, obviously being able to have your camera cubes and quick access. So I think that's really a nice benefit, and it can expand to out to 45 liter, which means that you can carry a lot more stuff using the packing cubes, the clothing packing cubes, and other kind of organizers that you bring with you, all the pouches from Peak Design. Anyways, I think I covered everything I wanted to, comparing the F-stop Loka to the Peak Design travel backpack. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop it in the comments below. I know this is not a polished video, but wanted to get this out there. I hope you guys like this video, subscribe, hit that bell so you can get notified of more videos that are coming along the way. But thanks for watching. This is Will from Going Awesome Places, and I'll see you guys in the next video.